everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then I really hope you enjoy your first video. Today's video is going to be all about how I saved my deposit and how I purchased a property at the age of 22. I've been asking you over on my Instagram to ask me lots and lots of questions regarding savings and properties, so I really wanted to start doing this a lot more on my YouTube channel. So I had lots and lots of questions, but the most common question was how I saved my deposit, how much did I save, and what was going on in my life when I saved this, you know, the background behind it all. So I thought I'd do quite a quick video to the point and explain the situation I was in and how I managed to save 20,000 in a 2-year period. So I left school at 16 and went straight into an apprenticeship, and I've done another video on that, so I'll link that one below for you. I started work at quite a young age, so I had an income at the age of 16. My income was rubbish, so from the age of 16 to 20, I didn't really save anything at all. You know, I'd save for a couple of months and I'd spend the money on whatever I wanted, you know, a new car, etc. And you know, I was pretty careless with my money. I would spend loads and loads on clothes and things like that. And then I got to 20 and I thought, right, I now need to start thinking about my future. I need to start saving for a property. At this time, I didn't have a clue how much the property was going to cost me, what deposit I needed. So at the time, I wanted a figure that I knew I could eventually reach, and that figure for me was £20,000. So it wasn't a case of my deposit needed to be that, it was just the figure in my head of what I wanted to reach before I wanted to start looking at the properties. So at 20 years of age, I thought, right, that's what I'm going to do. I looked at my income and my outgoings and worked out what I could save each month, and for me it worked out to be roughly £10,000 a year that I could save. Now, I didn't actually hit 10,000 the first year. I believe I saved 8,000. It was the second year that I went all in and managed to save £12,000. So over the 2 years, I still saved my £20,000 deposit. And then it was early 2018 when I was 22 years of age, and at that point I was nearly hitting the £20,000 target. So then I started looking at properties. At that time, I then found my apartment, which was £200,000, and I looked into the options that were available to me. So based on my income, despite my deposit, I still couldn't borrow enough for the property. So I considered my options, and that's why I went with the Help to Buy equity loan, which allows you to get a 5% deposit and the government will give you 25% loan. So I went down that route, and that meant I only had to put down £10,000. So I had 10,000 left over, and that enabled me to cover my legal fees, any other fees such as my ground rent and service charge, and then I also had around £5,000 left over at the end, which I used to purchase all my furniture and stuff like that with. So that's what I did, and that's how much it cost me for my property. And how I managed to save the money over the 2-year period, well, the amount you save will depend on the income you have and the outgoings you have. So I did live at home with my parents, which was obviously very, very handy because I didn't have massive outgoings. Still had a car on finance, I still had phone bill, etc. I believe my outgoings were still around £700 a month, but they were a lot less in comparison to maybe someone who's renting a property. So that really did help me. If you can live at home with your parents, I would highly recommend it because it allows you to save a lot more. Whereas if you're renting already, you're going to be struggling because, you know, it can be really difficult just to meet the bills alone, let alone trying to save on top of that. But that certainly really did help me out. And for that 2-year period, I was just very strict with myself. So I gave myself a set amount each month which I was allowed to spend on what I wanted, and then I would set a massive chunk of my salary would go straight into my savings account. And the only time that I would take money out of that is if I really needed it. So say something came up like, you know, car service or something like that, then I would take the money out because it was a necessity. Whereas if it was me wanting to go shopping, I'd be like, no, Hazel, you need to be strict, you need to stay focused. And looking at properties regularly online did help with this. I used to go online and have a look at new builds, and it was really exciting because I could see what I wanted for the future. I also went around and had a look at new build sites and went and looked at the show homes, which was so exciting, and that always really helped to keep me on track and stay focused. But the way that I truly did it was I looked at my income and my outgoings. I made a list of all of my outgoings, and I made a list of all the essential outgoings, the things that I could not change, my car finance that I'm tied into, my phone contract, things that I have to pay out for each month, fuel to get to work, etc. I then made a list of all my non-essential outgoings such as Spotify, Netflix, all the random little things that we don't actually have to pay for. You're not tied into a financial commitment, you don't have to actually pay it, you can cancel it at any time. So I had a list of these 2 things. I then assessed the non-essentials and thought, is there anything on this list that I can cancel? So I had a few random contracts such as Hey You, I cancelled that. I did cancel my Netflix for a period of time as well because I wasn't using it, so I didn't feel the need for it. So anything that I could cancel, I instantly cancelled, and anything that I could try and reduce down, I also reduced down. So for example, my phone contract, as soon as that was due for renewal, I made sure I got a cheaper phone contract. With my car that's on finance, Obviously I was tied in, so I couldn't necessarily get out of it without clearing the loan. So I looked into my options and managed to downsize, if you like, the car that I had and got a cheaper car, which saved me over £100 a month. So that was a lot of money extra that I had just from changing my car, which I could then put into my savings. If you are renting and you do have higher outgoings such as internet, things like that, you can still look to reduce this. I phoned BT out for my mum a few weeks ago and managed to reduce her bill down by about 40%, and this was just a matter of phoning them up and saying, I think the package you're giving me is a little bit too pricey. This is what I've seen online with this provider. Can you match it? So there are definitely ways of reducing down your outgoings. Make a list, go through all of them. Phone all the providers you have with tied-in contracts and see if there's anything they can do for you, because it really helps. Even if it's a few pounds a month, it all adds up. If you manage to save a few pounds across all of them contracts, that could be an extra £50 a month that you have, which you can put straight into your savings. Another massive thing that I did was stop eating out so much. This was definitely the main thing that I spent money on, in addition to fashion and, you know, buying clothes all the time. I would eat out so often. This just has to stop when you're saving for a property. You have to be strict with yourself. And if you're going to eat out at cheaper places and perhaps don't have the 3-course meal with alcohol. Just have a main and have water with it. It seems boring, but it's what you have to do to get where you want to be in the next couple of years. If you want to take it a bit slower, you can do. You could perhaps have a 5-year saving plan, a 10-year saving plan. It's totally dependent on your lifestyle. If you feel that reducing a lot of the things out of your life that you enjoy is going to be really difficult for you and you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can obviously extend the timeline, but it depends on how much you want the end goal. How much do you want that property? And that was, for me, I really did want to get on the property ladder, and that's what helped keep me really focused. Now, in this time, I did still go on holidays, so it wasn't like my life was completely boring, but I'd be very careful with the holidays. So I do a lot of research beforehand. I'd make sure I get the cheapest deal, and I typically do short city breaks, which didn't cost too much money. And when I went out there, I wouldn't overly spend. I'd bring maybe £200 spending money with me. And when I had these holidays, I would plan for months in advance and save. So my money that I had each month to spend on what I wanted, that would contribute towards my holiday. So for some months I would literally do nothing. I'd be saving my pocket money that I allocated to myself to pay off these holidays. And if you wonder how much I allowed myself to have each month, it was £200. So £200 a month was definitely enough for me. You know, £50 a week, what more could you need really? Going out for dinner, what's that, £20–30? You'd still do it every single week if you really wanted to, but that was enough for me. Still buy little pieces here and there that I wanted and still live a sociable life and still be able to see my friends and not feel too boring. But it was very much a time of telling my friends, this is what I want to do. I can't keep spending money all the time. Can we have more chilled nights in? Let's go for walks. Let's stop going out spending loads of money on drinking. Have some drinks before you go out. It massively cuts the cost, guys. Having drinks at home before you go out, not that I'm promoting that by any means, but it means that when I go out, I spend about £10 instead of £100, and that's such a difference. Even if you go out once a month, think how much money you're saving each month doing things like that. So my main tip of advice to you is really assess your income and outgoings. That is what you need to do here. That is the key fundamental thing you have to do to determine how much you can save. And you can only save what you have left at the end of the day. Don't kick yourself if you can't save 20,000 a year, 40,000, whatever you want to save, because you're limited to your income at the end of the day and your outgoings. So you have to work within the remit of your income and your outgoings and whatever you're left over with and whatever you feel comfortable saving. And if you feel that actually this is just nowhere near what I want to be saving, perhaps look at your job and perhaps see if you can have a promotion. Speak to your employers, say to them, I'm really looking to progress to the next level. Is there anything I can do? And if they say no, not yet, ask them, well, when? What can I do to prove to you I'm ready for the next step? And they will tell you what they're looking for, and then you can work towards it. And it might take you another year to get that promotion, but you know then that if you put your mind to it and you work hard at work, you're giving yourself the best opportunity you can to get higher income, which means all the excess income you have, you can put straight into your savings, which is what I did every single time. So during that 2-year period too, I back-to-back sat all of my finance exams in a year period and got qualified, and that was a massive pay rise because I went from being someone that didn't have any had a few qualifications, not many at all, to being a fully qualified person in my industry. And it's really good if you could try and do the same in your industry. Is there any exams you can take? Is there any courses you can take? Is there anything you can just do at work to prove to your employers you are willing to go that extra mile and willing to do the next step to get your pay rise? I know, sorry, I'm kind of going off on another route here now, but obviously money is the main thing here. It's the key thing that's going to help you save. So anything you can do to get extra money is going to be really handy for you. You might even want to consider, is there an evening job you could do? You could perhaps do a little runaround job. Whatever you want to do, don't stress yourself out too much, don't push yourself too hard because you'll just make yourself ill. At times I probably overworked myself because I had about a year of just being constantly ill, so you don't want to stress yourself out too much. At the end of the day, this is meant to be an exciting time, it's meant to be a fun time, and you're meant to enjoy the process, because you have to live in the now too. That's something I've learned from all of this. Live in the now and stop wishing your life away. I was very much like, oh, I just want to see that 20,000 in my account, and I couldn't enjoy the process of getting there. And when I look back, I think I should have been really happy. I should have celebrated every time I hit another £1,000 saving, but instead I kind of kick myself and be like, why didn't you hit this that month? Why did you not manage to save that? And I'd be quite harsh on myself, but try and be positive about it. Try and praise yourself. Give yourself credit where credit's due and all of that. And just make sure that you do focus on your income and outgoings and what you have left over. That is my main tip for you guys, and assessing what you can cut out as well. The final tips that I give you are just things such as, I've said this before in previous videos, but things like stop eating out at lunch. Make your own lunches, it's so cheap. Go and check out my Aldi hauls, and I do a whole week shop for £25, and that covers all of my meals, my breakfast, lunch and dinners for a whole week. It's doable and it will save you so much money. I used to buy lunches all the time at work, and this will cost me £4 or £5 a day. Cutting that down has saved me an incredible amount of money, so I highly recommend, if you're one to pop out and snack at lunchtime, just completely cut it out. Stock up at Aldi. It's your best friend, you'll save so much money. Things I tell you sometimes I feel that are so basic, and I feel like, really, does anyone want to hear this? But sometimes you need someone else to tell you, because at the time I needed people to tell me. So I really do hope that this little video has helped you a little bit, and don't worry, there'll be so many more to come. I really do love doing these savings videos, sharing with you what I learned along the way and things that I do differently. So really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone.